Let's start with the fact that there were some changes made in the USMCA as negotiated by Ambassador Lighthizer. How do you stand with those changes? Some Republicans seem to be not very comfortable. Are you comfortable with what was done?
Yes, I am. I think the two sticking points was labor issues in Mexico and also the patents on pharmaceuticals going from 10 years to where they are today. Look, this is an important piece of legislation, a treaty that we need to put through the Congress. So we're talking about, basically, we're talking about 12 million American jobs, about $1.2 trillion for the American people. My home state of Texas, Mexico is the largest trading partner, and it's about 1 million jobs for Texas and about $137 billion. So this is, lots been made about giving the president a political win. I would argue this is not, should be held hostage by politics. This is a win for the American worker, first and foremost. And it's not a win for either political party, but rather for the American worker. And it's very imperative that we pass this as soon as possible.
Well, as soon as possible, exactly, Congressman. We hear what you say from both sides of the aisle right now. This is a win for Americans, the American worker, no question about it. You talk about holding a political hostage. Then why does Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, say we're not going to even get to it until after an impeachment trial? Why don't we just get it voted through on the House and the Senate and get that benefit for the Americans?
Well, we're extending our time up here to next week. We do have this thing called impeachment going on. We do have to fund the government next week, so there's a lot on the plate. I do think you're going to see this thing pass the House next week, and then it will be taken up by the Senate. By all accounts, from what I'm hearing, the impeachment process in the Senate will go rather quickly. McConnell's indicated with no witnesses it's going to go fast, and I do think USMCA will be on the fast track in the Senate.
We also have news today out of the White House and elsewhere about U.S. China negotiations that maybe we're getting very, very close, according to the president, to what he calls a big deal. Maybe we'll be rolling back some of the tariffs. How do you react to that?
I think very positive. I think you have to look at it in two phases. The first phase is really the really trade imbalance of hundreds of billions of dollars. That is the first phase. I think is the most likely to get an agreement on. And what your prior guest talked about was this deadline in December that I think the president will defer and not impose additional tariffs, may actually relax those tariffs in exchange for China agreeing to import more of our ag commodities. This would be a huge, significant step forward. The second step deals more with the intellectual property theft, the espionage piece that I think is going to take a longer time to negotiate. But if we can get this first phase done and we can pass the USMCA, the impact on the American economy and the stock market will be really overwhelming. And I think it's going to put every American's pension, everyone's 401k in a very strong position going into next year.
We're talking with Representative Michael McCaul of Texas. Representative, you've been quite outspoken on the Hong Kong situation. I wonder whether you think it's fine to go ahead with a deal that, as you suggest, might actually roll back some of the tariffs. There was reporting from Bloomberg earlier today to that effect. Do that at the same time we haven't got the Hong Kong situation resolved.
We're very clear on our position with Hong Kong. We stand with freedom and democracy over dictatorship and tyranny. President Xi, I think, is misbehaving in the region. We stand with the people of Hong Kong on this one, but we also want a trade deal with President Xi, and that's the balance that the president's trying to coordinate right now. But he also he did sign our bill that we passed out of my committee on the Foreign Affairs Committee. We're always going to stand with human rights and freedom-loving people over tyranny and dictatorship any day of the week. I don't think that's going to impact, hopefully won't impact this trade agreement with China, certainly the first phase.
And finally, Congressman, you mentioned the funding of the government that needs to get done next week if we're not going to actually have the government shut down. There was talk there would just be a continuing resolution to sort of kick the can down the road, as they say, into the new year. Do you believe at this point there can be an omnibus solution here that will really get the appropriations done before the end of next week?
Yeah, I'm hearing from the appropriators we'll probably have several spending bills on the floor to keep the government open. A CR, I hope, is not going to be the likely situation. CRs are the biggest reason I oppose CRs. While I don't agree with shutting down the government, CRs greatly impact our military. They hurt our readiness, and we need to keep our military strong in what is a very dangerous world right now.